Welcome back to the deep dive. So we're starting today with this image that's so simple it almost sounds, a bit pointless. It's a man digging a well, but it's a well his father already dug. The man is Isaac, son of Abraham, and his whole job here isn't about finding new water. It's about clearing out the old wells that the locals, the Philistines, had just spitefully filled up with dirt.
On the surface, it really just looks like maintenance,
Yeah.
restoration. But if you actually dive into the sources, especially the commentaries on the biblical portion of Toledot, this act gets completely transformed. The commentators take this repetitive, almost mundane action, and they elevate it to, well, maybe the most difficult challenge a person can face. The ultimate test, really.
And that's our mission today. We want to unpack that dilemma because it feels so human. We're looking at Isaac's life to figure out why the real accomplishment so often isn't in pioneering something new, not in the thrill of discovery, but in that painstaking, almost invisible work of just repeating what's already been done. Why is restoring something sometimes harder than creating it?
Well, it all starts with this fundamental tension between the two of them, right?
Yeah.
Between Abraham, the pioneer who found the source in the first place, and Isaac, the restorer. Isaac's whole job is to prove that the old water, the wisdom, the faith that was discovered a generation ago is still flowing, still relevant. And that tension, well, that's the wellspring for this entire deep dive.
So let's start with that thrill of the new. Let's start with Abraham. Our sources describe his work, his divine service, as pioneering. I mean, that's the word they use. He wasn't inheriting a belief system. He was, in a very real way, creating it, digging into the unknown, both, physically in the ground and metaphorically into the nature of existence itself to find these living waters.
Oh, he was a true revolutionary.
Yeah.
He was looking for meaning when everyone else was just sort of accepting reality as it was. The Midrash, the old interpretive stories, give us this incredible image to get inside his head. They say Abraham questioned everything, like a man who sees a burning building and asks, does this building have an owner?
That's such a powerful idea. He just refuses to believe that reality is an accident. He's driven by this burning need to know. He's basically saying, I can't just live here without exploring what's really going on.
Ah.
The intellectual drama there is just massive. You can feel the rush of finding something brand new.
Exactly. The source material says his effort was fueled by the novelty of existence. It's like the universe was giving him immediate positive feedback. Every single step was a huge leap. But then you get to Isaac, and his world is just completely different.
And this is where it gets relatable, I think, because most of us, let's be honest, we're not Abraham. We inherit things, frameworks, companies, families, traditions. Isaac's path was to walk exactly where his father walked, step by step, but without that initial excitement of discovery.
And it wasn't just digging the same wells. The sources really emphasize this. He faces the same incidents, the same arguments with the local king, the same confrontations, and he has to restore the same names to the same wells. Beersheba, Isaac. It's not just physical repetition, it's historical repetition.
So if Abraham's life was this grand adventure, Isaac's life sounds more like a mandatory internship. The map's already drawn, the coordinates are known, the water is, in theory, already there. This is the crisis for anyone who follows in big footsteps, right? The child of a famous artist, the student of a great scientist.
The sources are blunt about it. The accomplishment isn't something you can see from the outside. There's no drama of discovery, no natural rush to new sources of inspiration. The cruelest part, no easy feeling of personal renewal. Everything is, already known, already established.
But hang on, isn't that just a fancy way of justifying boredom? If the path is known, why isn't just maintaining it the most efficient thing to do? Why do the sources say this is the most difficult challenge? If the water is there, just, put a lid on it and move on with your life.
But that's the key. The water wasn't flowing. The Philistines had filled the wells with dirt. It's not just maintenance. It's about clearing away all the cynicism, the neglect, the distractions that build up over time. That dirt is like the psychological fatigue of familiarity. And it's that familiarity, that lack of newness, that turns a simple chore into a profound battle. And that gets us to the heart of the problem for anyone trying to learn or grow. Familiarity can breed, well, if not contempt, then at least apathy. If you've been in the same job for 20 years or you read the same foundational texts every year, where's the reward? The accomplishment isn't discovering the truth. It's in feeling that truth like it's the very first time.
The sages, the ancient commentators, they totally got this. They understood this huge psychological hurdle. They knew the human brain just craves novelty, so they issued a command, basically. You have to force yourself to keep it fresh in your mind. The challenge is all internal.
We see this so clearly in the Sifrei, another collection of early interpretations. They're discussing that verse, "These words which I command you today."
Mm-hmm.
And the sages jump in and say, look, these commands, they should not be in your eyes like an obsolete ordinance that no one pays attention to,
Mm-hmm.
but like a new ordinance that everyone is keenly interested in.
You are being commanded to manufacture enthusiasm. I mean, that is an incredible, almost impossible task. Real novelty, genuine discovery that naturally creates excitement. But to take something you know backwards and forwards, something ancient, and to force your mind to see it with the same focus you'd give a new crisis, that is the Isaac challenge right there.
And it gets even sharper with Rashi, the great medieval commentator. Rashi says on the commandments, every day they should be like something new in your eyes, as if you had received these commandments on that very day.
Just think about that for a second. He's asking for the psychological equivalent of amnesia, followed by this intense, focused presence. We're basically being told to apply a beginner's mind to something we've already mastered. If you're a coder, it's like writing your first Hello World program again, but with the wisdom of a senior developer. If you're a parent, it's seeing the daily routine with the wonder of someone who's never seen it before.
And that's exactly why Isaac's repetition is seen as harder than Abraham's pioneering. Abraham had the wind of discovery pushing him forward. Isaac has to generate his own wind, his own energy to clear away the dirt. He's fighting against basic human nature, which was always whispering, I know this already, I've seen this before.
So the question becomes, can redigging those old wells, whether they're intellectual models or spiritual practices, can that actually feel like meaningful work? Or are we just, rationalizing the daily grind? How do we find that depth without just going through the motions?
Well, the sources suggest we find it by understanding the difference between moving around on the surface and digging deeper. The well's location doesn't change, but the deeper you dig, the more water you find. So the repetition becomes a test of your intention. If the act is repetitive, but your intention is new every day, if you're genuinely searching for that newness that Rashi demands, then the whole act is redeemed.
Okay, we've set up the ancient text, but let's bring this home. Let's connect it to the listener's life, their career. We all hit that point, Ray, usually in our 30s or 40s, where we have that realization. There is nothing new under the sun.
That's the crisis moment. And the choice is, does that realization diminish the meaning of your life? Does it make you feel like a cog in a machine? Or does it actually free you? Does it liberate you to stop chasing novelty and instead engage more deeply in the eternal patterns that Isaac embraced?
That's the pivot. If you stop trying to invent the next big thing, you can put all that energy into perfecting what you're already doing. For an artist, it means stop chasing new styles and just master your craft. For a leader, maybe it's stop chasing management fads and just perfects the fundamentals of communication.
And this tension shows up in how we look for vitality. We often think we need new experiences to feel alive, a new hobby, a new spiritual trend, a new field of study. The source material forces us to ask a tough question. Is that constant hunger for novelty actually fuel for growth, or is it a distraction?
It feels like fuel, though, doesn't it? Our brains reward us for new things, so choosing repetition over novelty feels counterintuitive. But the sources suggest that distraction pulls you away from, and I'm quoting here, the harder and truer work of finding infinite depth in what has always been given to you.
Think about it like mastering a musical instrument. The greatest musicians, they spend decades playing the same scales, the same pieces by Bach. The C major scale is known. It's obsolete, in a way. No one needs to discover it again, and yet the work is never, ever done. Every time they play, they're searching for a slightly deeper tone, a new interpretation. The novelty isn't in the notes, it's in the depth of the execution.
And the same has to be true for long-term commitments. Relationships, the basic structure, the person, the promises, that stays the same. If you're always chasing new partners because the old one feels known, you're on Abraham's path, not Isaac's. The sources seem to be guiding us to see that the most profound rewards come from finding infinite depth right where we are.
Isaac's real achievement wasn't moving dirt. That's temporary. It was making the old new through sheer internal focus. He took his father's blueprint and he injected it with his own unique intention, and in doing so, he reclaimed it. It wasn't an imitation. It became an affirmation.
And the sources are clear that the outside world, the Philistines, will always try to fill your wells with dirt. That dirt is the noise of modern life, the cultural pressure to abandon the old for the new, just the fatigue of routine. Isaac's lesson is that the well only works if you commit to that daily, difficult act of restoration.
And that restoration requires that impossible command to see it all as if for the first time. We're always looking for that aha moment of discovery. These sources suggest we can create those moments not by changing the subject, but by changing how deeply we look at the subject we already know.
Which brings us back, I think, to the core insight of this deep dive. Isaac's life wasn't about laziness or just maintenance. It was the ultimate test of internal commitment. His goal wasn't to find new ground, but to prove that the living water Abraham found still flows. And to get to it, you need this profound, manufactured sense of newness in the familiar.
It forces a really hard question about where you put your own energy. We spend so much of it looking outward, trying to discover a new well, a new system,
Yeah.
trying to be pioneers.
But the sources are asking, by constantly chasing that drama of discovery, are we just avoiding the harder work, the work of Isaac? Are we running away from the truly profound task of redigging and restoring the depth that's already there in our skills, our relationships, the truths that have always been with us?
So ponder where your attention is flowing this week. If you put that same energy, not into finding a new path, but into deepening your steps on the path you're already on, what kind of living water might you find? What's hidden just beneath the surface of all that familiar dirt? We'll leave you with that thought.
Thank you for diving deep with us.